It's a great delight to be presenting at this year's Real Conference. As Emma has said, my name is Munyaradzi Hoto and I am the Chief Customer and Marketing Officer at Adfenix, and I'm pretty delighted to be presenting this conference together with my team. One of the things that I think really matters at this point in time is looking at how the digital landscape is changing from a consumer and business point of view, and what trends we are seeing and how we can predict that those will actually begin to have an impact on how real estate is transacted going forward. So just to dive into it, one of the critical points of view that have become almost axiomatic in the industry today is the fact that buyers and sellers are now more self-educating, self-directing, largely through content and largely online. But it doesn't stop there. Buyers and sellers are expectant of much richer digital experiences. As you can see on the side, 2/3 of buyers and sellers, they want custom content. They value an experience above just the actual product on its own, and they actively buy from the most innovative companies. And you can already see that because if you look at our individual lives or our personal lives, the experiences that we're getting from consumer applications that we're using on an ongoing basis, whether that's Uber, Netflix, Deliveroo, we're getting real-time responses to our needs and our wants. And now that's actually moving into some of these larger transactions like property. Quite a challenge for the industry, but something quite important to consider, which is even though I'm doing a transaction that's worth £500,000 or £1 million to buy a property, what I'm actually expecting from my supplier, even at that time, is the same personalization, the same rich digital experience, the same content nurturing that comes when I go through other applications and processes as well. And anybody that isn't conscious of that, as far as we can tell from the data and the research that we're doing, is going to be left behind. And that's something that we've all got to be conscious of as part of this. So to double down on that, I think, and it's my strong point of view and our belief as a business, that there has been a digital disconnect in some sectors, and real estate is one of those where there is a shift towards more digital maturity, towards better digital experience. But actually, that disconnect does still exist on the digital experience with respect to some of the assets that we own and that we use to present. So we know, like I've just said, that customers really want a personalized experience, simple and intuitive interfaces, and a tailored experience based on their needs. But oftentimes what you actually find is that when they come to transact property, they're being captured by broad targeting, unless of course they're using Adfenix. They're experiencing static filters on some of the web assets, and the experience is quite generic. And actually, it's kind of counterintuitive. The more money you're spending, the more of a tailored experience you would typically expect. But in real estate, it's been quite the opposite for some time. But we're starting to see that marketplace start to bubble up and start to change. And we're starting to see more innovation and more technology. And we think it's important for the industry to recognize this. And that's part of the reason why we've actually put on this conference and why we've got such great speakers that are ongoing at this point in time. The next thing that I think is really, really key is that if we're going to understand digital transformation and maturity going forward, there's a number of things that have happened over the course of the maturity of the industry itself that help us to actually realize the need for change, and that need is permanent. So if we go all the way back in history, the way properties used to be discovered before there was the World Wide Web is that there was probably somebody with an office in a village or a town who was known as the guy or lady that would sell properties. And eventually, there were enough properties to sell that these started to be put in newspapers as classified advertisements. And over time, the property discovery journey moved from just being in classified ads and in windowsills of estate agent offices to actually being on portals. And then the dominance of portals, we've seen that happen over time. They actually started to really, really invest in owning the search part of discovering properties, and largely through digital. And that's in partnership, of course, with the emergence of the internet and the adoption of internet tools and facilities. But what we're really seeing is that if you're going to be a successful agency and brand, you have to own the next part of the wave of innovation in property. That is to say, you've got to be thinking not just about the transaction part of the property, but actually the discovery process, the nurturing process, the buying process, and then of course the after purchase process of nurturing until your next property or your recommendation comes along. And I think that the most successful brands and agents are the ones that are going to take this mindset and shift to digital permanently as part of the core infrastructure of how they go to market, because that's what we've seen in other sectors, but also it's the natural evolution of the industry from classified advertisements to portals and now to digital enabled agencies and brands. And I really, really believe that fundamentally is where the industry is going. And if we just stick on that point for a moment, we start to see something very, very interesting as well, is that the industry has kind of consolidated around some very singular owners of the discovery process of property. In the UK, you've got massive players like Rightmove and Zoopla. Here in Sweden, we've got the likes of Hemnet and some challenger portals like Beneo. But actually, the way brands are going to be successful in the future and going forward is actually to start thinking about how they can have direct relationships with their customers, even at the discovery point of view, because they can know their customers better, they can have first-party data on their customers, and they can begin to leverage that first-party data set to be able to query it for personalized, ongoing experiences, but also customer loyalty. And why do I say this? We're seeing trends of this kind when we look at, for example, brands like Nike in the retail space. What they decided to do was they moved all of their inventory away from Amazon, and they built essentially their own super infrastructure on the websites to allow themselves to have a direct relationship with their customers. So to some extent, what they did was they took their inventory away from the portal and they put it on their own website. So now they have to get better at getting discovered by customers, offering customers excellent digital experiences, but also then nurturing those customers and delighting them in the post-customer experience in order for those customers to come back and buy more services through cross-sell and upsell, but even later in the future. And that's something that is actually fundamentally based on user behavior. If you second the relationship that you have with customers to a third party, eventually customers believe that that's where they get all of their services. And this is where real estate agencies could actually start to innovate. But Nike is not the only one that's done this. Disney, for example, took all of its content off of Netflix. And initially everybody thought, oh, this is a wild idea. Netflix is the marketplace for all media and content, for movies and TV series and so on. And it was a huge gamble for them. But all of us know that now Disney Plus is now one of the largest distributors of entertainment content. And they now have direct relationships with their customers. No longer are people going to Netflix to watch Disney. They go to Disney to watch Disney. And as a result, Disney has better relationships with their customers, and they've got a long-term tenured, rich experience that they're creating for their customers. And again, fundamentally, real estate has an opportunity through the brands that are participating in this conference and others to own and have a direct relationship with their customers, largely through digital, which is why, again, the theme of this conference is about digital enablement and digital transformation for brands. And then finally, just to kind of close that up and to finish the narrative, we really believe that if you can combine the leveraging of key data together with creating infrastructure that is game-changing, online websites, marketing automation tools, channels, and customer centricity at the center of it, you can really, really have a transformational experience for customers, and you will grow your market share, you will retain your customers, you'll sell more from them through cross-sell and upsell, and you'll actually have long-term longevity as a supplier in that market. And that's it. Some food for thought there, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of this conference and everything that's going on. But fundamentally, the time for digital is now, the time to adopt digital is now, and the time to have game-changing digital experiences for customers is now. Thank you very much.